All right, let's do this now. Nobody's playing ball. It's over. 2015 season is behind us. Wow, that took a long time. Hi, everybody. I'm Randy Tibbins. You know who you are. Come on in, pull up a chair, sit down, relax, and let's talk Dodgers. This is the best, first, and only video podcast by fans, for fans of your Los Angeles Dodgers. And today is November the 4th, 2015, and we are doing off-season Let's Talk Dodgers. We're going to do it, I think this is our last show until after Thanksgiving. I told you I'd come back after each progressive series, after the NLDS, after the NLCS, and after the World Series. Here we are after the World Series. Mets lost, the Royals won 2015 World Series. Do you care? I'm not going to even play it. Yes and no. Let's get to the Dodger news. There's all kinds of stuff swirling around on the hot stove already, and it's not even December yet. Greinke opted out of his contract as expected. Now let's see if the Dodgers try to make a move to get him back. What do you think? Are they going to do it? Should they do it? Should they not do it? My take on that, people have been asking me, there's going to be a lot of guys out there, some pretty good frontline A-type pitchers, starters. But since we have to fill 3 other roles already, and you're not going to find anybody out there better than Greinke, and I know he's going to want a lot of money for a lot of years, I say just give him some money, whatever he wants, bring him back for 5 years. And if you don't like him after 3, deal him away. Everybody else does that, so why not? He's the best guy out there. He's going to win the Cy Young, you watch. Anyway, that's my take. What's your take? Why don't you write us at Let's Talk Dodgers here on Facebook, or Let's Talk Dodgers 13 in YouTube, or Let's Talk Dodgers at gmail.com. Those are the 3 places I want you to call me at, or write to me at. Playing some voice from the talking a lot. All right. What about this new manager thing going on? We got a new manager. The Dodgers, well, they didn't get rid of him, and he didn't quit. So Don Mattingly and the Dodgers kind of mutually parted ways, is what they're telling us. And the favorites for the position appear to be people like Tim Wallach, Gabe Kapler. They've interviewed Dave Roberts, Kirk Gibson, Darren Erstad, Bud Black. Team also today received permission to interview the Mets bench coach, Bob Guerin. I don't know. Do you like those guys? Who do you like? Write to me. Let us know. We'll talk about it. I'll give you a shout-out if you write to me. I still like Tim Wallach because, the last time we had a guy from internally, and Tim's been with the organization for a while, not since he played there, but when he was in the minors managing for us. The last time we pissed off a guy by not picking him to be the manager when it was an opening, and that was Mike Scioscia, and all he did was go to the World Series with the Angels and win it. So I think Tim Wallach should be given a shot. There might be guys better out there. I think Mattingly might be better. But if he wants to leave and go to the Marlins, fine. I think Wallach's the best guy because he knows the players, he knows the situation, knows the organization, been with us a while. You don't want to bring outside guys that don't know the organization. It's always tougher. So I don't know. Tim Wallach is a likable guy. Everybody knows him. He's a sharp guy. Did well with AAA. I do know this. Tim Wallach has said he will join new Marlins manager Don Mattingly in Miami if he doesn't get the Dodger job offered to him. I bet he might even go somewhere else because somebody else could pick him up as just a manager anywhere. Lots of other jobs are on the line throughout baseball. And Wallach confirmed what Mattingly revealed in his introductory news conference on Monday. Wallach is considered one of the Dodgers' in-house candidates to replace Mattingly, along with Gabe Kapler and Ron Roenicke, who haven't been even interviewed yet. So I don't know where that's going. I don't know where the Dodgers are going with this. I don't know. Let me know your thoughts. Write to us here at Let's Talk Dodgers. And on that same note, Rick Honeycutt, Mattingly's pitching coach in L.A., is negotiating a multi-year deal to remain in that role with the Dodgers, even before a new manager is announced. But he could be gone well, too. He might go to Miami. I don't know. Meanwhile, the bigger question, who's going to replace Nancy B. Heffley at the Dodger Stadium organ next season? That's what I want to know. Come on. We music guys want to know that stuff. Let's get into the good stuff. Even before the fun stuff, we have the fan stuff. And that is this. I'll make the announcement over the next several months when we're on Let's Talk Dodgers. But in case you didn't hear the news, I was one of the first to hear it and tweeted around the world and talked about it with everybody. As announced just last week, next year's Dodger Fan Fest at Dodger Stadium will take place on January 30th, 2016. Yeah. I'm there. Let's all meet up somewhere. Anybody that's watching me or likes the show, let's meet up somewhere at Dodger Stadium during that whole thing. If you've never been to Fan Fest, you're missing out. First of all, it's a free event. Did I mention that it's a free event? You don't even pay for parking. Now, you'll pay for food if you want to eat lunch there or whatever, because they have all the food guys going on. There's Dodger dogs and Kula-Koos and all. But if you bring your own lunch, you eat in your car or whatever. But there's no parking fee. There's no fee to get in. And it's really cool. And you get to hang with some Dodger players. Now, if you want to get some autographs, that they charge you for. But if you're like me, you're an old guy, you don't care about the autographs, you just want to meet and talk to people, no sweat. So I'd go there and hang out. I'm going to be with my buddy, and I'll give him a shout-out later. He knows who he is, but I'm going to give him an extra special shout-out. And I'll just say this. If you haven't been to FanFest, they haven't been doing them that long in Los Angeles, and when they started doing them a couple years ago, it's about time. They are a blast. If you are any kind of a Dodger fan, I know you are if you're watching me, you got to go to Dodger FanFest. January 30th, Dodger Stadium. It's always a blast. It's always a delightful Saturday. Usually the weather's pretty good in late January, so that's always going for you. So that's great. All right. Let's get to an injury report and some moves going on here. Dodgers are still feeling the effects of the season, I'll tell you. Yasmani Grandal had arthroscopic surgery Wednesday morning, October 21st, on his left shoulder. AC joint is expected to be ready for spring training. Dodgers are relatively good news with the arthroscopic surgery on the left shoulder of Grandal, in that the catcher did not require any surgery to repair his labrum. It was not torn, so there was no tears in it. That's very good news. He didn't require any major surgery like that. The quote we got was, quote, "We knew there was a chance that he might have had to do the labrum, but obviously I didn't want to take longer to come back," Grandal said on Monday, "so I was very happy to hear that the labrum wasn't touched once I woke up from surgery." That's a cool thing. Maybe surgery was okay, and that he'll move through rehab faster and be ready for spring training. Grandal had a 45-minute procedure to repair the AC joint in his left shoulder, and it was performed by Dodger team physician Dr. Neil Alatrash. So that was cool. He made it through. The timetable for recovery was that Grandal would be ready for spring training in February, but there was a chance of possible labrum repair, but that didn't complicate it, so he's going to be ready for spring training. Now, speaking of calendars and timetables, one of my jobs here at Let's Talk Dodgers during the off-season is to let you know, the fan, some of the important dates going down during the winter, and then the ones that pertain to what's going on in spring, obviously spring training. So here's the calendar events for Major League Baseball in the next several months, and I know you want to hear this. Let's take you up to the end of the year. We will update this list, this calendar, every couple of weeks that we're on. Okay, November 6th, that's in a couple of days. That'll be the deadline for teams to make qualifying offers to their eligible former players who became free agents, 5th day after the World Series. Now, that's coming up. So, we got a couple days, and that means that the Dodgers are going to kind of offer up anything, if anything, to people that were on the free agent market. I know Howie Kendrick's going to go free agency and all these other guys. Well, we don't want Jimmy Rollins back probably, but Kendrick might be on the bubble if we don't have a second baseman. So if that's going to happen, it's going to happen in the next 2 days. So in a couple days, the Dodgers may be tendering offers to some of their free agents. We don't know. We don't know how the Brain Trust is working on that this year. November 9th through the 12th is when General Managers meeting is going to happen in Boca Raton, Florida this year. So we might report on some of that after that's over. November 12th goes the 9th to the 12th, so be ready for that if there's anything to report. If nothing's there to report, we'll just go to Thanksgiving without a show. November 13th, that's going to be the deadline for free agents to accept qualifying offers. So if there's free agents out there, if they get any offers, that's the day they have to have the deadline for accepting them. The other big meeting that goes on, I was talking about the winter meetings, plural, besides the general managers meeting in November 9th, November 18th and 19th is the owners meeting in Dallas. Sometimes you get some horse trading going on at those things, usually at the general managers meeting, but you never know. At the owners meetings, you might hear some cool stuff going on. If there's anything big to report there, we'll be back for that too. So that's another excuse to do Let's Talk Dodgers. December 2nd comes up, and that'll be the last day for teams to offer 2016 contracts to unsigned players on their 40-man rosters, if there are any. I don't know if the Dodgers have any unsigned players, but there may be some by then, so maybe they'll sign them up, and we'll hear about it. December 7th through 10th is the winter meetings in Nashville, Tennessee. Those are some other meetings where the whole-out organizations meet and do different stuff. If there's anything big to report there, any horse trading going on there, we'll report it here on Let's Talk Dodgers. December 7th is also another interesting day for baseball. That's the Hall of Fame Pre-Integration Era Committee. That's players through 1946. There's actually a vote taken, and that'll be announced in Nashville, Tennessee on December 7th. If there's anything big to report, we'll report it then. That will take us up to the end of the year. Nothing happens after that until January 6th. That's when the Baseball Writers of America, the Baseball Writers Association of America, announces their Hall of Fame vote. So the vote will be taken by then, and we'll hear about it. And that's usually a big deal, and we hear that after the new year, 6 days in. So until that, we're not going to do much. We will probably, if none of this stuff has any big Dodger involvement, we'll probably do a show after Thanksgiving and one right before or during Christmas, New Year's area, somewhere like that, and that'll be the end of the year. And then we'll come back probably in January on a weekly basis to give you Let's Talk Dodgers. In case you didn't know, the Dodger flagship of KLAC Sports Radio LA at 570 on the AM dial is doing regular intervals of Dodger talk. They were doing them every day, now they're doing once a week. In case you're not sure, you can check out their website, AM570. They're doing the podcast version. If you have an iPhone or a smartphone that downloads it on the podcast app, you can always see when the shows come out. And they've done a couple. I'll name off a couple right now. Dodger Talk was last done yesterday, November 3rd, because we're recording this the 4th. So that show is up, 41 minutes worth. And they did one a couple days before that, too. So I'm going to hear that on the way home from work. But that's still going. If you need more baseball and you're like me, you're jonesing for baseball stuff. Besides the usual MLB Network and ESPN stuff every once in a while on TV, ESPN does their Baseball Tonight podcast sporadically throughout the off-season. You can catch it in the same places, online, in the iTunes store, and also on your podcast app on your iPhones and smartphones. So those are always fun things to listen to. All right, let's get into some more fun stuff. I'm going to hold off on Dodger home runs. We've had enough for the season. That's behind us. We'll start jonesing for home run calls probably at our next show, so I'll have some next time, I promise. The rumor mill. Well, it's a little early for hot stove in it, but there are some rumors floating around, particularly one to deal with this show. And I heard a rumor just the end of last week that my former co-host, known as Lynn, might be returning for the 2016 season. I also heard that he's a free agent and demanding a hefty bump in salary. Hey, man, me first. I want mine. No, he got fed up, and I think he's got the secret way, something in my eye, of watching Dodger games without Time Warner Cable, as some of you have. And I think he may want to come back next season. So, Bobby K., you might get your wish. Then Mike join me back in the hot seat here, and we'll talk some Dodgers together. That's even more fun. Because talking with yourself is fun, but it's even more fun when you can banter up and back and disagree or agree with somebody. Anyway, that's a rumor. Shout-outs? Yeah, let me give one out to my FanFest partner this year, and I know he's going to be with me January 30th. Hope you're joining us too. Mark B., want to see you there with me, Mark. Let's hang out together again. We had a blast taking pictures, doing movies. We had an awful blast. I mean, just awful great time. And we were there morning till night. It was a blast and a half. That's the best word I can use because it was so much fun. Hey, we acted like little kids again, going down on the field, eating Dodger dogs, eating Kula-Koos, whatever, eating some barbecue at Tommy Lasorda's joint. It was a blast. I mean, it's a good time. How can you not have fun just hanging at Dodger Stadium, on the field at Dodger Stadium, meeting other fans that are huge fans? Nothing like it. All right. I got one more edition of Stats of the Day before we do this date in Dodger history. Then we'll put Stats of the Day away because there aren't going to be any stats unless I hear some funky things that come up in the offseason. But the last thing I heard on the World Series is kind of interesting. Kansas City hit only 2 home runs in the 2015 World Series. Solo shots by Alcides Escobar and Alex Gordon, both of them were in Game 1. And the stat about that is this. The Royals were the first team to win a World Series with only 2 runs scored on homers since the 1950 Yankees. Wow! Wow! That's unbelievable. Unbelievable. Another stat on that, and I got one more after that. The Royals came from behind in each of their 4 World Series wins. You heard about that. That in itself is not rare. 5 other teams did it in a best-of-7 format. The Pirates in 1925, the Reds in 75, the Dodgers did it in 81, the Marlins in 97, the Angels in 2002. But here's the kicker on all of it. This is my favorite stat of the whole World Series, and I'm sure you've heard this one. Kansas City was the first team in World Series history to win 3 games in the same World Series in which it trailed in the 8th inning or later. Shows you how powerful we are. They were. We couldn't have done that. We never did it all year, so we would have. If we had to play those guys, we would have fallen too. But anyway, the thing that pissed me off about the World Series is that the Mets showed their dark side when they didn't do it in our series, because we knew going into the NLDS that the Mets were one of the worst fielding teams. We didn't expose that. Maybe once I think we might have, but they were terrible. we should run on them more. We should have taken more advantage of their bad defense. Well, the Royals did it. You saw what they did. All they did was win the World Series. Maybe next year. Wait till next year. All right. This date in Dodger history, November the 4th. And you're going to say, wait a minute, what happened on November the 4th? Yeah, there's some cool stuff here. First of all, this is today's date in Dodger history is featured in the form of a quiz, because on this date this kind of happened. The Dodgers had that tri-MVP World Series in 1981. You may remember Pedro Guerrero and Ron Cey and Steve Yeager. They were the tri- or co-MVP winners that year. Remember, 1981? Yeah, I remember it. The question I have for you is this. Has that situation of a co-MVP, where more than one person wins the MVP of the World Series, has that ever happened before or since 1981 when we had three guys do it? I'll give you a couple minutes and we'll talk about it. Also on this date, a very important date in Dodger history, the birth, 48 years ago, of Mr. Eric Karros, 2-3 himself, on this date in 1967, making him 48 years old. Happy birthday, 2-3. Happy birthday, EK, we love you. One of my favorite Dodgers of all time, Eric Karros. Cool guy, great, loved watching him. Great first baseman, great hitter. And as you know, the Dodger LA all-time home run leader. Has he been surpassed yet? I don't think he has. But anyway, Eric Karros, great guy. And he did a great job broadcasting whenever you saw him on TV or wherever this year. Okay, that question, has there ever been a co-MVP besides the 81 Dodger guys? Yes, there was. Later than that, in 2001, just 20 years later, it was Curt Schilling and Randy Johnson, of course, of the Arizona Diamondbacks when they won it all in 2001. Those two guys were the co-MVPs. And why do we like that series? Because they beat the hated ones. They beat They beat the Yankees that year. That was a great World Series. All right. Let's get you out and running here. Not to the ballpark, but some extra events. We got some signings going on. Iguana Sports Bar, 8528 Rosemead Boulevard, Pico Rivera. November the 14th, that's coming up in a week or so. Jim Mudcat Grant, Tim Leary, Jay Johnstone, all right, Jaybird's there, and Rudy Law, November 14th. Let's give you the date on that. That's a week from this coming Saturday. And I'll give you the address again. Iguana Sports Bar, 8528 Rosemead Boulevard, Pico Rivera. Hey, who doesn't want to see Mudcat Grant, Tim Leary, Jay Johnson, and Rudy Law? I'd pay just to see Jay Johnson and Tim Leary myself. And Mudcat Grant, cool guy, man. All right, and we got one more after that. This is a little later, which I may not have another chance to tell. Well, I'll have one more chance at Thanksgiving time. November and then December. December 5th, time to be announced. The Frank & Son Collectibles Show, 19649 San Jose Avenue in the City of Industry on December 5th. Jerry Royce, Q-Tip, I got to get my book signed by you, man. Don Newcomb and Todd Hollingsworth, what a great trio that is going to be signing at the Frank & Son Collectibles Show. Not sure of a time yet. I'll give you that maybe at the end of this month. They're going to be signing, and that's going to be it. That's the end of it. Like I said, Let's Talk Dodgers. We're going to be coming up in the off-season. The end of the month, probably around November, whatever Thanksgiving is, 20-something. Coming back probably around before Christmas time, if there's something in any of the meetings that we talked about, if those yield anything big. Probably come back when there's a manager decision. They're gonna have that done before December, so we may be back then in November talking about our new manager. And in the meantime, write us here at Facebook, Let's Talk Dodgers, or on YouTube, Let's Talk Dodgers 13 if you have an account there, or Let's Talk Dodgers at gmail.com. Notice I didn't put Twitter in there. Let's leave Twitter alone for a while. We did enough tweeting this year. Just those three places. Write to me. I'll give you a nice shout-out. Maybe play it. If you have a request for a home run call, let's make it the last 5 years. If you want to hear any Dodger home run call in particular, or just a guy, just name the Dodger you want to hear one by. We're not going to go with dates or anything. But if you have a particular, if you want to hear an Adrian Gonzalez, if you want to hear a Matt Kemp from a couple years ago, if you want to hear a Jock Peterson home run, write to me. Let me know. We'll put it up there. We'll let you hear it, and it'll be a lot of fun. And I think it'll be fun. And you know, this off-season is going to go pretty quickly, or as we like to say...
Well, it won't be very long before we hear the familiar and comforting sounds of Mr. Scully calling the action on
That's
the
right. That's right. We can't wait for that. That's going to be a blast. And Vince Scully's last year. Got a lot to look forward to this coming season. Anyway, it's going to be a long off-season, but then it goes really short. There's less than 100 days before pitchers and catchers report. I know that. I think they report somewhere around the 10th of February. If it's later than that, then maybe it's 110 days. I don't know. But all I know is I want you to come back at the end of the month, pull up a chair, sit down, relax, and let's talk some more Dodgers. And we'll be back talking about it all during the off-season. So come and talk to us, all right? We'll see you at FanFest, too. Thanks, everybody. Have a good off season. Bye-bye. Have a good Thanksgiving.